Oh, hey, what's going on, guys? So I have been talking about the fact that we are in an information war, and Satan, God, and just the positioning that we have in society right now is that Satan is battling for your mind. For information. And so he's using this as his battleground, and he's using this to sway you one side or the other side or whatever it is. So we're not in some typical, physical warfare. We're not killing, we're not having wars, and some places in the world there that exists. But right now, generally in the world, we're not in some kind of a physical war. We're in an information war, right? And as part of that, you have to be diligent and cognizant of what's going on in terms of the information. And the problem a lot of people have right now in society, in churches, in communities, in your families, and all this stuff, is that people are talking over each other and they're not getting the right counsel from the right perspective and with the right information. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, they think that they're helping other people by reading a couple articles online, watching a couple documentaries, trying to get, one perspective, the other perspective, and they think they did enough due diligence and research to be able to have a sufficient conversation, but more so for them to counsel other people. And that's the problem we have in churches right now. A lot of leaders, a lot of elders, teachers, or whatever you call it, they're not immersing themselves and understanding a certain topic deep enough for them to actually empathize and to understand a person and a perspective that a lot of people in the congregation, in their family, in their community has held. And this is what is going on in terms of people speaking over each other. Because a lot of people, they think, oh, why are my congregation members, why are my family members, why are my friends, they're all so deep into this stuff. And it's so deep and so foreign to them that they have to label it a conspiracy. They have to label it as crazies. They have to label it as extremists and all these different terms. But the fact of the matter is, if they were to have done the same amount of research, if they were to have really immersed themselves in the information, and I'm not saying to get lost in it, I'm saying guard your heart, but at the same time, do enough so that you can get on the same level with somebody to understand where they're coming from. And that's, the problem with counseling everywhere. A lot of people, they think they know something about someone's history, about a certain pain, a wound that they have, and they're speaking from a place of ignorance. And I'm not saying that they don't have good intentions. I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm just saying, how do you minister to somebody else? How do you have a fulfilling and empathetical conversation with the other person when a mom who is not had an aborted child, a person who didn't struggle with alcohol, a person who didn't have, a family member die, a son die, who didn't go through a breakup or whatever it is. If you don't have people that went through that, then you can't have, in some sense, a fulfilling, deep conversation with the person who has gone through that. And I'm not saying, teachers and pastors who haven't gone through something can't counsel, can't empathize, can't understand a person's perspective. But for the most part, that's how a lot of ministry, a lot of healing, outreach, and things work. When someone goes through something, then they're able to have a discussion with the other person because they went through the same thing. And so the same thing is happening right now, where a lot of people who are getting into camps, getting into certain factions, and whether you want to call it extremists, whether you want to call it, people that are just informed and understand a topic and the level of research needed to get into something, that's occurring right now. And because information is so thick and so big, and I've said this before, you can't just Google something and say, yep, I spent about 5 hours and I understand this topic now. You can't, we're in a place with information, with big data, with so much terabytes of data that's out there, that in order for you to be in a place where you can understand something and a topic and be in that process of going through all of that, you have to take yourself and immerse yourself in that place. And once you do, then you can have an informed, a rich, an empathetical discussion with somebody else who is struggling with that, or going through that, navigating that, or immersing themselves and trying to assimilate themselves in that realm. And that's the problem a lot of people in churches, in your families, in your friend groups have, because a lot of people, they understand where they went in that journey. They understood that from last year, from 4 years ago, from 2 years ago, they were on this journey for which they had progressed through the thick and thin, through the weeds and all this stuff to get to the place of understanding, of wisdom, of whatever that process was. And for someone to come in from out of nowhere and say, yep, I Googled some stuff, watched a couple documentaries, I interviewed 1 or 2 people, and I'm very versed in the topic. And so let me counsel you. Let me speak into your life. Let me do this for you. And that's why there's such division, because a lot of people aren't investing the time to get to understand a certain movement, a certain perspective, a certain side, such that there's people speaking from a place where they think they know something and they think that they're having good discussions and they're giving wisdom and counsel and things like that, but they're not. And it shows, because the other person hearing it and receiving it knows that this person hasn't gone through the same process and journey. So the same thing goes for alcoholism. The same thing goes for any kind of counseling. Anybody that has gone through a certain struggle, a loved one passing away, or whatever it is. Those that understand and know, they know because they have some sense of a historical connection, because they went through the same thing. And this is the problem we have in society right now, across all churches, across communities, across families, across your friend groups, whatever it is. A lot of people are speaking from a place of ignorance. They're speaking from a place where they don't really know what's going on in the world and understanding the times. They just have 1 or 2 perspectives. But worse than that is that they haven't had enough time and research to get into the thick and thin of something. And that's how the world is operating right now. It's not easy to just read one article. It's not easy to just look at a one-liner. There's a heavy amount of research for what you must get immersed in for you to be for you to get to a level of conviction, to get to a level of believing in a certain thing, and being convinced of whatever that movement or that direction or that position is, such that you can see where they're coming from and what they're doing. And so a lot of people are speaking past each other. A lot of people are not taking the time to invest and to understand somebody and be empathetical. Rather, they're trying to get the easy way out. They're trying to get to the shortcut of getting to the conclusion and the bottom line, and then they just make a decision, and then they just start arguing from that. And everyone just speaking to each other from a place of ignorance, from a place where only from fallacy, maybe from a narrow perspective or whatever it is. And they're all speaking to each other this way without fully immersing and understanding people's perspective and opinion. That's why you have divided churches. That's why you have divided families. And all these people are leaving left and right to go to this group or that group, or shifting and sifting these things. And that's what a lot of people, they don't understand. They think that they can get there with the shortcut. They think that they can do a little bit of research and really understand, and they're not immersing themselves into it. And worse is that they're saying that they're guarding their heart so that they don't get into it. But there's a way for you to immerse yourself, to really take a position and understand where someone else is coming from, but yet guard your heart as you get into that. But a lot of people, because they're hearing biases and someone else saying, oh, that's ridiculous, and the ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, oh, that's ridiculous. And the political January 6th stuff, oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, that person talking about this movement or that or Q or whatever it is, that's ridiculous. And those are just examples off the top of my head, but there's many other examples, tons and tons of examples of current day issues, of positions, of every single thing that's going on right now, that a lot of people are speaking from a place of ignorance, and they're not taking the time to ask. And more importantly, like I've said before, you got to ask the Lord, reveal the truth to me, reveal the information to me, help me to get to a conclusion, to an understanding, a level of insight that would allow me to have informed decisions, to have good, deep, rich conversations, to counsel people, to help other people navigate these times and all that stuff. But they're stopping short, and they're not using and effectively getting into the weeds and the deep parts of the stuff, because they're worried that they're going to get sucked in, or they're worried because they don't want to invest too much time. They think it's stupid. And so you've got to break those barriers down especially if you're in a position where you want to counsel, heal, empathize, and navigate your church, your family, your friends, and all this stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to have a greater divide. You're going to say, oh yeah, those guys are so stupid. Oh, those guys are conspiracy theorists. Oh, those guys have just a stupid, unbiblical opinion, blah, blah, blah. But again, there's more to it than meets the eye. There's depth to it. And a lot of people, they're not doing that. Everything, anything, COVID, politics, social issues, even just news about somebody. If someone is saying this happened to that person, you've got to think twice. What is the motive that is the outside media story versus what is possibly the underlying meaning behind it. And there's so many layers to something. And again, that's all part of this information warfare that we're going through that a lot of people are not taking very seriously, because there's quite frankly, a lot of things that's out there. And for you to consume everything, you need more than 24 hours in a day to do that. But if you get strategic, if you pray about it and you ask the Lord, how do I get myself into it without getting exhausted and overwhelmed, then I believe you can navigate that. And so especially if you are in a position where you have to interact with people, you got to be open. You got to ask the Lord, reveal this to me, because I'm just brushing it off as stupid opinions, as extremists and conspiracy and all this stuff. But we're living in a time where in order to navigate the information, you have to have spiritual eyes to see. You have to be in tune with the Lord, and you have to be open-minded and not be so closed off and wanting to listen to, oh yeah, the guy with the title, or somebody that I respect. Oh yeah, no, that's the majority saying this. Instead of doing that, you've got to seek and hunger after the truth. And if you do that, the Lord can reveal this to you. And you have to be in a position where you are open, you are able to research deeper, you're empathetic and understanding. Otherwise, the divide, the chasm between you and your family and your community, your church or whatever, it's just going to get deeper, and it's not going to get better, because everybody's holding on to what they know and they're compounding that information. As I learn more, I'm compounding on what I've already learned, and that's getting me to a deeper level of insight and understanding. And as I get there, more people are going to label me as, an extremist or this and that. And same goes for any other topic or area. And even in Christianity, the more deeper, the holier, the more sanctified, the more Christ-like you get, people are going to label you as, oh no, that's just an extremist Christian. That's just a weirdo, radical Christian. But that's not the case, because they're getting deeper and they're getting to a place where other people are unfamiliar with that aspect. And so that's why you have to be open in that way and discern and understand the information war that we're living in. And so just want to encourage you guys with this. Please consider it, be mindful of it. Don't be ignorant. Don't be naive about it, and pray, continually pray. So God bless you guys, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.